Number 9. Red Flags. In July 2016, a 23-year-old college student from Central Oregon Community College was heading home from a bachelorette party in Bend, Oregon, when a campus security guard impersonated a police officer and killed her. Kaylee Ann Sawyer was a little intoxicated after the wild bachelorette party. She also had gotten into a fight with her boyfriend earlier that day and was not in the best headspace when she accepted a ride home from a man driving a campus security vehicle. He had an official-looking uniform on, and it's believed that Kaylee assumed he was an actual police officer, so she thought she could trust him. Once Kaylee was inside the car, the man, 35-year-old Edwin Lara, locked the doors so she couldn't escape and drove her to a secluded parking lot. Lara then brutally assaulted and killed her in the back seat. Her body was later found in a ravine about 30 minutes away. Kaylee's mother, Julie, was devastated to hear what happened to her daughter. It was later discovered during Lara's trial that other school employees were aware of this man's sick obsession with, quote, dead bodies and did nothing. They ignored all the red flags and even let Lara keep his job after finding out that he was showing inappropriate videos and photos of himself to co-workers. For the murder of Kaylee Ann Sawyer, Edwin Lara was sentenced to life in prison, and $2 million was awarded to the victim's family by the Central Oregon Community College in compensation for their negligence. Number 8. Too much wine. A woman from New Jersey was in Tennessee for a friend's bachelorette party, and she apparently went crazy, trashing her Airbnb after drinking too much wine in June of 2019. Police officers responded to a report about someone breaking into a residence and came to the scene to find 29-year-old Alexandra Chidi sitting outside the Airbnb with a bleeding foot. The front windows had been completely smashed in, and furniture inside the property had been badly damaged. Chidi was extremely drunk and unable to explain what had happened when authorities questioned her. She had apparently consumed 2 bottles of wine by herself and lost her mind. Police assumed her foot was injured after she kicked through one of the building's windows. Her rampage racked up an estimated $1,900 in damages for the Airbnb owner. After a conversation with the officers that went nowhere, she was taken to a nearby hospital to treat her foot injury. Chidi was later sent to jail and charged with felony vandalism for her violent, chaotic outburst. Her bond was set at $2,500, and she was set to appear in court for her crime on July 12th, but it's unclear what happened with the case since public information is limited. Number 7. Man overboard. A bachelor party on a cruise ship to the Bahamas came to an abrupt end when the groom accidentally fell overboard and died back in October 2018. 29-year-old Christopher McGrory planned his wedding to be on the 1st of December and was excited to marry the love of his life. He planned his bachelor party with the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line and couldn't wait to celebrate with his close friends and family. After boarding the Grand Classica ship with his buddies, Christopher thought it would be an incredible experience he would remember for the rest of his life. Sadly, the trip would be the last he would ever take. It's unclear exactly what led to his death, but Christopher somehow toppled over the railing of the ship and landed in the water below. A passenger on the cruise, Marsha Lehman, was interviewed by the Palm Beach Post, and she said that he fell off the boat from above her and must have been either on the 10th or 11th deck. Shortly after the accident, concerned groups of people gathered around the stairway and looked down at the horrific sight below. Lehman explained that they could only see, quote, pools and pools of blood on a white sheet. The Coast Guard was notified of the incident and quickly arrived with a rescue team from the Riviera Beach Fire Rescue. Chris was taken to shore and rushed to the nearest hospital, but he was later pronounced dead. Jessica Arnett, Christopher's fiancée, was left devastated by the news of her significant other's passing and couldn't hardly believe it. What was meant to be a fun celebration of love ended up breaking the heart of the soon-to-be bride. Number 6. Canceled wedding. A bachelorette party got out of control when the bride slept with one of her hired strippers and ruined her relationship after a video of the incident went viral online in 2017. The woman's name is not listed, but if there was ever a contest set up for being the worst fiancé, she would get first place. She had been partying with her friends that night, and they thought it'd be fun to hire a stripper to entertain them. When the exotic dancer got to the celebration, things quickly started to get out of hand. One thing led to another, and the engaged woman made a horrible and irreversible decision that cost her a wedding and a husband. She let herself get seduced by the stripper, and as she was surrounded by her friends, cheering her on, she had sex with him. Little did she know, though, that someone at the party recorded the entire thing. It's unclear if that person willingly leaked the video or if their phone was somehow hacked, but long story short, the footage of the woman's clear infidelity ended up online for everyone to see. When her fiancé found out his partner had cheated on him during the bachelorette party, he broke off the engagement and ended their relationship cold turkey. Bachelor and bachelorette parties have a tendency to get a little wild and out of hand sometimes, but it's not often taken to this extent. The woman's life was ruined by her drunken actions, so hopefully she learned her lesson and will stay away from strippers in the future if she knows what's good for her. What would you do at a bachelor or bachelorette party? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. Number 5. Going psycho. A bachelorette party was just trying to have a good time in Wilsonville, Oregon Holiday Inn Bar back in 2015 when a man started pestering them. Before long, he got upset and tried to wreck the place, so he was asked to leave by the bartender. The rowdy man was identified as 27-year-old Siali Sali, and he had been chatting with the girls from the bachelorette party, and things quickly got out of hand and heated. An argument broke out between the women, and Sali and the bartender politely asked him to leave the bar before things got worse. This caused the man to fly into a blind rage, and he went out on an all-out rampage. He began to throw things at the bar like glasses and furniture, and the bartender was almost hit by a chair thrown in her direction. The police were called to calm the situation and forced Sali to leave the business. When they finally got to the bar, the man had already left on his own. Luckily, they found him just a short distance away, and he was arrested without causing any more issues. He was sent to jail that night on 6 charges in total, with 2 of them for menacing. But it's unclear what exactly came of this case, and it's not known what Sali's punishment was. Number 4. Ruptured bladder. A bachelor party at the Penthouse Club in Port Richmond, Pennsylvania back in 2010 was ruined when one of the exotic dancers accidentally ruptured the groom's bladder during a dance. Patrick Gallagher was invited on stage at the club as part of the Bachelor's package his group had paid for. He was celebrating his future marriage with his friends when things quickly took a dark turn for the worse. After he was pulled on the stage, he was told to lie down flat on his back by the stripper, so he did as he was told. The dancer did her usual routine and was entertaining the crowd when she suddenly slid down the pole and landed directly on Gallagher's abdomen with a thud. She apparently came down at such a great speed and velocity that the force of her body hitting the groom actually ruptured his bladder. He didn't know what was wrong at first, but he was in severe pain that lasted all throughout the night and into the next morning. Gallagher took himself to the emergency room, and doctors quickly discovered what the problem was. On top of a ruptured bladder, he had internal bleeding that needed surgery in order to correct. As if that wasn't enough, the stripper's outrageous routine also caused nerve damage in the man's hip and back. Who knows, maybe it was karma for celebrating his upcoming marriage at a strip club. Number 3. Pepper spray fiasco. In Vancouver, British Columbia, a party bus turned into a pepper spray nightmare after a bachelor party met up with a bachelorette party in October 2015. Clinton Cooney was celebrating his wedding with his friends on their party bus on a Saturday night when a rowdy group of women celebrating their own friend's marriage decided to join in on their party. The girls also had their own bus, but decided to join Cooney and his pals because they had hired entertainment, strippers to be exact. Things were going fine and everyone was having fun until one of the bachelorette party guests got into a fight with the exotic dancer. It's unclear what exactly started the disagreement, but the strippers definitely ended it. One of the dancers pulled out a bottle full of pepper spray on the woman and drenched her in the stuff. Of course, the whole bus was quickly contaminated by the fumes and everyone was forced to evacuate. Luckily, police and firefighters were called to the scene and only 10 of the guests experienced, quote, significant irritation after everything. Everyone affected had to rinse their eyes out with the help of paramedics. After everyone recovered from the incident, the 2 parties went their separate ways. But we're guessing the pepper spray ruined the night so much that there most likely wasn't much celebrating going on after that. It does make for a great story, though. Number 2. Kidnapping prank gone wrong. In June 2015, a Canadian bachelor party's attempt at kidnapping the groom didn't go as well as they had hoped. In a quiet neighborhood in Edmonton, Alberta, neighbors thought they had witnessed a break-in as they saw a U-Haul van pull up at a home and 10 men wearing nylon masks over their faces stepping out of it. They quickly ran over to the house and used the spare house key that was hidden outside to make their way into the property. Even though this was meant to be just a fun prank to kick off the groom's bachelor party, 6 reports were called into the police regarding what they thought was a case of organized crime. 2 of the participants, Gavin Wilson and Ross Nichols, sat inside the home alongside their 8 other friends, and there was a nervous excitement filling the room. Each one of them had foam baseball bats gripped in their hands as they waited for the man of honor to come into the room. One of the guys held a sleeping bag above his head, which they were going to use to grab the groom, Landon Scott McCarty. Everything was meticulously planned out, and McCarty's fiancée was also told of the prank and gave them the location of the hidden key so they could actually get inside. The only thing they forgot about was telling the neighbors. Suddenly, 2 cars pulled up in front of the house. One of the vehicles belonged to McCarty, but the other was an unmarked police car. 2 officers knocked, and when Wilson answered the door, they quickly pulled their guns on the man. The whole thing was just a big misunderstanding, but to the man's neighbors and the authorities, this was a real situation. A canine unit and a helicopter were even on their way to the residence. Everyone inside the house froze as they confessed their plans to the cops, who were less than amused when they learned of the irresponsible and stupid plan. Nobody ended up getting arrested, but I'm sure none of them will ever try a fake kidnap. Number 1 Bachelorette Party Tragedy. A Long Island, New Jersey bachelorette party was on their way to a winery tour in a limo they rented in July 2018 when a truck driver rammed into them, killing 4 of the women inside. Dana Carlino, 23 years old, had been invited on the tour to celebrate her friend's marriage, but decided not to go at the very last minute. The decision likely saved her life, but it caused a lot of tension between her and the party when she said she wasn't going to be there. Carlino explained that she had weeks to request time off from work but never actually did it. The group sped off in their limousine, leaving Carlino behind to go to work. But shortly after they drove away, their car was hit by a truck. The driver that hit their vehicle, Stephen Romeo, was arrested and held on $500,000 bail. The bride-to-be survived the accident, but 4 of the other women lost their lives that night, including Carlino's closest friend. Do you have any crazy bachelor or bachelorette party stories? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you like what you saw. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Bad Badger.